Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday night, where it is time once again for the Tank Show, where we try and spend some time acquiring new knowledge. I do have, of course, my buddy, pal, and co-host, Chattanooga Ed, with me. Ed, as always, thank you for being here. Your name here, I can fix that for you. It's
Oh,
still
I
under
like
the
it.
Aquashella Live. I can fix it. I
No,
got
that's
it.
all right. We're talking Aquashella. We'll just go with it.
That works. Alrighty, I'll leave it alone then. But yeah, we are going to talk Aquashella a bit, kind of recap that, and then of course, as always, we'll be taking your questions and comments from the chat. If you put the @ symbol in front of Fish Room Fever, that highlights on my screen over here, and then I answer and address all those things as we roll through this stream tonight. I guess, Ed, do you want to go first? It's normally I kick it off and I rant for about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll let you fire off tonight.
Well, today was, or this, we are home now, but this weekend was the last weekend of Aquashella 2022. The first one started off in Florida, then Dallas, and now we just got done with Chicago. And it was an amazing time. I think it was probably the best Aquashella I've been to. It was so much fun. Maybe the first one was the best because it was like the first time ever coming out of the big, plague that was going on, and everybody had been in their houses for 3 years, and then we all got out and got to hang out. So maybe that was more fun. But I don't know. I had a wonderful time, James.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that there were some really nice additions to the fish tube booth with the additional game and things, and I love how it's constantly being adapted along with the show. Things are constantly evolving, as with any show that is a good show. They're constantly trying to make things better. So, and you can see a lot of that take place. So it's always great to see old friends, and then also there were some new things that I hadn't seen before, as well as old friends doing new things that they hadn't done before. So that's a lot of fun. Got to meet some awesome people like my Fish Tank Aquatics and so many others. And then, like John's talked about, the late night hangouts where, we kind of see each other a couple times a year and we get to talk till the wee hours of the morning. That's always a blast. Uh, as always, I've got to give it to Pet World Lawrence Online. They are the ones that have the massive hardscape booth focused primarily on wood.
So
And
cool.
they knocked it out of the park as always. They've always got a great selection and really good pricing. You can actually see some of it. I was like kind of hanging it around, trying to get it up and away from the cats and out of the way as we start the moving process. I was like, well, we'll just hang it back here in this blank space on the green screen, and it'll fill in there. But yeah, it was a really good show. It's hard to keep things fresh from a show perspective for people that are coming in from our perspective to see things, the same show multiple times a year and it not be the exact same show. So that's always greatly appreciated, that it doesn't really get boring or anything like that, because that would be very easy for that to happen. It just kind of gets stale and it's always the same old thing. But it didn't. That was great. Hey, Fish Tank Barn and I had a fun time doing one of the live streams on the Aquashella channel, talking about our secrets to successful aquarium keeping. That was a blast, of course. But yeah, it was great. I do want to say a couple thank yous. Of course, thanks, Aquashella. But Scuba Stevo, my man there, brought me
Yeah.
one of these Scuba Squad t-shirts. Really appreciate that. We'll
Oops,
get
mine's
Ed to hold
upside
his
down.
upside. It's cooler. You just do yours upside down. We'll be good.
Well, for
And
all the
then
people that are
thank you.
doing yoga at home,
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
very cool.
It's always good to see Steve. He's an awesome guy, and he's always got so much energy that he brings to everything that he shows up to. So it's great to kind of feed off that energy a little bit, especially if you start to get worn down, which can happen. These things. And then a huge shout out to imareefer.com. This is my sexy shrimp shirt.
Oh,
Sexy, I don't know it. And then they also got one of these from them, which was the high five with the starfish.
oh, cool. I got this. It's
Nice.
what our fish see.
Yeah. This is how I see it.
Very cool. And then that's on the front. And then I was actually wearing my other reefer shirt yesterday, and squirted or didn't squirt, but spilled a whole thing of salsa all over it. So it's in the wash.
Life happens. A fun fact for anybody that doesn't know or isn't aware, I'm a Reefer is actually owned by Kenny, which is the owner of my local fish store, Aquatic Marine. And I didn't realize he was going to be at the event. So I was standing outside near the loading ramp or the entrance where all the vendors bring everything into the showroom. And I heard his voice behind me. And I was like, I know that guy. And it was cool to see him up there and get to hang out with him some at a fish event, not just in the in the store. So shout out to Kenny and Aquatic Marine. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
It was awesome seeing Kenny. That was super cool and a nice surprise. The one thing that I really liked about this one was we finally got our PA system working. For the last 3 Aquashellas, we've been trying to get speakers to work so I could talk to the crowd, and we finally got that working. So that was a major plus, and I thought that was pretty fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I thought it was ironic. I looked at the speakers that were set up, and I actually own the exact same make and model of speakers. Have them here at the house. They were passed on from a friend that passed away, and I'm like, you know what? The grand scheme of things is part of the showroom event hosting type thing that I'm setting up. Those will work really well for what I have planned down the line at the new place. So I was glad to see that was a functional item, I guess the best way to put that. Hello, Oink Master Supreme Forever saying hi in the chat. And Drink Water says, Fisher Fever, I'll be in Chicago next year for the fish show, I hope. Well, I am always happy to see anybody and everybody that can make it to any of the events. That is by far my favorite part. I got to hang out with quite a few different people, and that is one of the things I enjoy about being a quote-unquote smaller creator. I don't have a line. It's very few and far between. It happens every once in a while, and then it's great because the line's like just 1 or 2 people. It's like, hey, we can all just talk together, But got to spend a lot of time with, a handful of people, and spend some really good quality time having some awesome conversations. So I really, really thoroughly enjoyed that. And as always, if you ever see me at a fish event, don't be afraid to come up to me. You're not interrupting me, because a lot of people are like, well, I didn't want to bother you or interrupt you, or I thought maybe you were filming, or something. Just come up and say hello, because that's why I'm there. So it's always appreciated and always enjoyable. Let's grab a couple of these real quick before they run away, and then we'll get back to the highlighter. We got Fish Tank Barn before the show even started using that membership milestone super chat. I love Fish Tank Barn. He's always a great guy to hang out with. Been a member for 29 months. Said, nice seeing you guys at Aquashella. Mike, it was truly a pleasure, and I can't wait to hang out with you again next year at hopefully several different events. We've got Carol Cox, been a member for 21 months. A huge thank you, Carol. Says hello from West Virginia. Hello, Carol. Oh, I forgot. For our members. Little happy dance there.
Oh, there you go.
We do this for Carol. We're going to raise the roof. But thank you all for the love and support. Appreciate you being members. Hello to West Virginia. And again, Mike, Fish Tank Barn. Always a pleasure to hang out with you, good sir. Ken's 3D and Aquatic says, hey, gents. Hello, Ed.
Good day.
Ken. Always good to see you. Still testing / working on breaking the products you sent me. Haven't broken anything yet. So good update there. I do have something I keep meaning to message you about on one of the products. Nothing bad, just something I want to incorporate that I want your 2 cents on to make my life a little bit easier. So at some point, if you don't hear from me, feel free to shoot me a message, and I'd love to talk that with you. And KG Tropicals and their viewers just joined. Say hello.
Woo-hoo.
Hello to all you awesome KG Tropicals people, and a huge thank you to John and Lisa at keepfishkeeping.com for the send over. Very much appreciate you all. Anybody that is new to the channel, if you type the @ symbol in front of Fish Room Fever, that highlights on one of my screens here, and that allows me to pull your comments or questions from the chat and address those live on the air, which is what we're doing right now. So thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Ed. You had something to say there, buddy.
Oh, who was sending you some cool products?
Ken's 3D and Aquatics.
Oh, cool.
Sent me some 3D printed stuff.
So, very neat. Oh, I can't wait to see.
Absolutely. All right. Doesn't happen often. Take advantage of it. We are not behind on the chat at the moment. So if you've got those questions, you want to get them in there now. Hey, Scuba Steve-O saying, hey, my favorite two YouTubers. In case you weren't in here a minute ago, we were just showing off the t-shirts. And again, a huge thanks to you, my friend.
Yeah.
I haven't worn mine yet. It's still nice and fresh and ready to go.
Mine
I
too.
can wear it in a video that I'm shooting upcoming. Hey there, Mountain Greenery, saying hello. And we've got Drink Water, has been a member for, look at the other screen here, 15 months. Thank you so much for the love and support. It says, take mates for a sulfur head. Thanks, everyone. Mrs. Fever in the chat is going to yell at me for not having any really good ones. Ed, do you want to fire off with that one?
Well, honestly, I think sulfur heads look good in the colony. So I think I would go with like 5 or 6 sulfur heads. Well, probably not 5, but 6.
Yeah, I mean,
like
tank. Absolutely, tank size comes into play. Drink water, as you know, I'm not huge in that department on fish. I enjoy looking at them, but you know, I have so many other things that I'm really into. And Mrs. Fever is the African cichlid keeper. So I'm going to go with what Ed said because that sounds right to me, along with my piece of advice to keep an eye on the chat because, as you know, we've got 163 people in here, and I know many of them have channels and keep sulfur heads and a lot of other things. So I would be doubtful that you wouldn't see some advice coming from the chat that was very good information.
Yeah, maybe a whole tank of just male African cichlids also. So that way, all about the same size. And I've heard, I know that Ben Ochart, he has an all male fish tank, and I bet you he has a sulfur head in there too, or two.
Very, very true. Absolutely. And again, Drink Water, thank you for being a member, using that membership milestone super chat. Do a little dance for you. All right, so we've got Jevin Smith says, hope you I did. And hello, Jevin. Appreciate you being here. I have a 40-gallon, and I want 2 male and 5 female cribs with tetras and cories. Will that be fine, or should I just do 2 pairs of cribs? So, my opinion, which is all I offer here, based off of experience and hundreds of tanks, thousands and thousands of gallons. If it were me, I would start out with the 2 males, 5 females. And then typically, in my experience, they will tend to kind of pair off. You could leave the extra females in there, but that's probably not what I would do. I would probably just have my 2 pairs in there. That way you didn't have any issues with the additional females, which may or may not be an issue depending upon your particular fish. But also what that's going to do is once you've got 2 pairs, you've allowed them to pair off. By removing those other 3 females, that's going to give you more space, so to speak. It's going to give you load that you can use for things like the cories and the tetras, so that you can use that bio load elsewhere. And yeah, I would say depending upon the tetras, because there's so many different types, there's no reason I wouldn't give it a try. I'll phrase it that way. There's no reason that I wouldn't give that a go and see how it worked out, and things should work out fine for you. And then, of course, with cories, I personally would do at least 6 or more, stick them in there, and I think you would have a pretty looking tank.
Sounds good to me.
Over to you, Ed. There we go.
Sorry, I agree with everything you said.
Well, thank you, buddy. Let's see. Hashtag KG says sorry. Always appreciate it, but never required. No apology expected. I know sometimes they quote unquote run over, which isn't really running over because this is the interwebs that people can stream whenever they want for as long as they want. But I do appreciate the sentiments on the apology. Leslie Perry, thank you so much for that $5 super chat. Very much appreciate that support. Leslie says, last week I said I'd send $10 if my gourami lived. He's still here, but not healed. I'll send another $5 next week if he's still among the living, with a winking face. It's very much appreciated. I'm glad that the gourami is still alive. And you don't have to send another $5 next week if he's still among the living. What I will say is that oftentimes these things do take time, depending on what the issues are. That's one of the things I talked about with Fish Tank Burn, and I talked about in my 7 Habits of Successful Fish Keepers. Is patience and allowing things to play out. Unfortunately, we live in a world where we want things now, which can be great for certain things. You order it, it's here at the door, or you can get it now. It's not so great when it comes to respectfully keeping an environment, a glass box full of water where you've got, all these microorganisms and living things. To cut that short before I go on and on, algae is one of the things that I see the most. People are like, I want it gone now. And it's like, well, you can use an algicide and you can kill it off now, but you're not really fixing the problem. Another thing when it comes to sick fish is oftentimes people will do a day of treatment or 2 days of treatment. And they go, well, the fish isn't better. And then they switch. And I say, well, I'm going to try this treatment. And they're putting their fish through a lot of torment because maybe they were on the proper treatment the first time, but they didn't give it enough time to heal up. So just give it a little bit of time. And this is for everybody, not just for you, Leslie, but I encourage everyone, once you've diagnosed and at least think you're on the right track for treating a fish, allow the proper amount of time with that medication. Let the treatment run its course before you come to something else. It's kind of like if you were to go to the doctor and they said, well, we're going to treat this. They're going to let that antibiotic or whatever it may be run its course before they go, well, this hasn't worked. We're going to try the next treatment. It's we want you back tomorrow because we're going to give you this 7-day prescription, but we're going to change it tomorrow and give you a different prescription. So just think of it in those terms. But again, thank you, Leslie. Let me jump back up here. I see we've got a lot of highlighted stuff. That is awesome. We're going to get to as much of it as possible. Hopefully all of it. We try to do pretty well at that. Texas Fish Room. Been a member for almost 2 years using the membership milestone super chat. I'm going to take that. I don't think I need that one. Says, good evening, y'all. Texas, good evening. Hope you're doing well. And thank you for the support. Swell guy in my book. You get 2 thumbs up. Our friend Oinky, Oinkmaster Supreme Forever says, hugs first, of course. Have you ever kept the Sylvania molesta, a.k.a. giant Sylvania, in your tanks? Bought it at an auction by accident. Thought it was normal Sylvania. Oops. I have not kept the giant version. I'm going to think, but I don't even know that I have firsthand, in person, seen the giant version. What about you, Ed?
Well, I honestly, I don't know for sure what Sylvania I had. I would imagine, it's smaller than frog bit, but bigger than duckweed. Well, everything's bigger than duckweed. It's bigger than green root floaters, the Sylvania I have, but I don't know if it's giant. Maybe giant's gigantic. I don't know. Be kind of cool. We should look it up sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Just my initial thoughts would be, again, not having kept that that was a mix between particular and specific, and it turned into I don't know what. That specific Sylvania is, I would think, it should be similar. You're going to probably want to dose some fertilizers for it. You may have to dose more often, given that most floaters do a lot of uptake from the water column. So you may want to, based upon the root structure of that particular plant, adjust your dosing periods. A lot of people can get by with 1 dosage per week. Some people in a heavily planted with a lot of column feeders, 2-3 doses a week. So it just depends. So that would be my first thought would be, if it's got a larger root structure and is doing a lot more feeding from the water column, to make sure that I'm giving it the food that it needs, and then potentially any lighting adjustments if needed, but more than likely, probably not. But kudos to you for getting something different. That's always fun to get a new thing in the fish room. And I got quite a few new things in the fish room coming back from Aquashella. There's going to be a video on that coming out, along with why we quarantine, because some of those things came home and they are just fungused up like all get out. It's one of those. They look fine when I bought them. Got home, unbagged them. They look fine. Stuck them in a tank, and that tank there is being treated for some funky fungus fish right now that I'm very glad that I did not put with anything else.
Was that Mitch from Scruffy City? Or who was that? That got
was
the
what?
giant Sylvania.
No, that was Winkmaster. Winkmaster's been forever.
Oh, I was guessing it was, I don't know, maybe I was reading Mitch's name when you said it, and I was thinking, I bet he got that at the swap. Our club had a swap this weekend that I wish I could have went to, because I've missed both of their swaps now. It's such a drag. But, yep, they're pretty awesome. Just saying.
Absolutely. I'm going to grab this one here before it runs away since it's not highlighted. Brandon, hello, Brandon, and welcome. Says, hey guys, here from KG fam. What African cichlid would you recommend for a cycled 55 with river pebbles and mountain slate stacked? Note, I'm experienced. You're probably not going to like my answer to this, given that you are experienced in terms of African cichlids, because this is kind of a basic answer, if you will. But I absolutely love a tank full of yellow labs. And you can vary the quantity based upon how large the tank is. You know, the more that you have room for, the better. But I think yellow labs are one of those that I kind of would place them like with Romy nose tetras. It is just beautiful to see them in a large group. And that goes for a lot of other fish. But the yellow labs, when I see those tanks, those are the ones that make me go, maybe I should more back into the African cichlid side of things. But that's my 2 cents. What about you, Ed?
Oh, man, I was hoping somebody would give me a suggestion. Partner, the problem with asking us cichlid things is we're not experts, or we're not really experts on anything. But I've had African cichlids a few times, but I'm more of a live-bear guy. So, and when it comes to cichlids, I've had, I still keep South Americans, so I don't really keep anything African. I'm sorry, except for my Bichers. Get 2 of those. Or what size tank was it?
That was a 55.
It
has river pebbles and mountain slate stacked.
Oh, some people say that Bichir eat the pebbles and have a problem with that. But then I've talked to a lot of experts, and they said that they don't. They live in the wild with rocks. They'd all be dead if they had a problem with it. So I don't even know if that's necessarily like a true wise tale, that people love to spread things and then it just kind of snowballs into giant deals. I'm sure there's a wonderful fish out there. Texas Fish Room, man, he knows all about African cichlids. You should go check him out or ask him. He's in the chat right now, or he was, and I bet you he could tell you.
So here's my thing, which is normally what I preface with, but I didn't. No matter what we suggest, even if you get into live bears and I'll say things we're more familiar with, if you will, or community tanks or plecos or any of that, no matter what we suggest, it's all subjective. So while I might think I'll say the blue Hawaiian guppy is the most beautiful guppy in the world, and that's the guppy that you should get, and that's the one everyone should have. I'm biased. That's, I like blue. I wish I could have picked any, but I guess that works well to the example. Or plecos, I could tell you what my favorite pleco is. Now, the size and things like you gave us, perfect info on, and, it's cycled. It's a 55. Here's the decor and the scape. That helps us have some ideas on what to categorize for a suggestion. But again, it's also subjective. If I tell you you're sitting at, a 75-gallon community tank, and I say you should definitely do angelfish because I think angelfish look amazing in a community tank. If you don't like angelfish, or you have a particularity or a preference to something that doesn't go well with angelfish, that's a horrible suggestion on my part. So always keep that in mind when asking for what should I stock this tank with, that you don't have to like what we say, and that's perfectly fine. You're always to choose the thing that you would most enjoy in the tank, and that's always the number one piece of advice I give. But I digress, and I'm going to try and get running through here. Drink water saying thank you, Drink water, very much appreciate you. Ken's 3D and Aquatic says, give me ideas of things you need or need improvements that you have or think you need. I can CAD design most anything. Yes, Ken, thank you. And you and I will be doing some talking on Facebook Messenger for sure. All right, let me get back through here. And we did get Jevin's question. So that's good. Echo Delta saying, nice meeting you at Aquashella. Pleasure to meet you. It's always fun to hang out with other fish nerds. So thank you for being there. And thank you for meeting us. I guess another way to put it. You know, I go there to meet people, and oftentimes I'm just kind of hanging out at the table talking with other creators, and that's perfectly fine and fun. But it is nice to get those interactions where people do come up and say, hey, you know, I want to talk to you. And it's like, really? Little Obi? Awesome. Let's have a conversation.
You know, there was one person that was there named Amanda. And she asked for my autograph and she asked for my sticker. And I forgot the stickers up in the room. And I said I'd bring them back down on Sunday. But I never saw her on Sunday. Amanda, if you're out there, reach out to me on Facebook and I'll mail you out a sticker.
Absolutely.
I felt bad I didn't get their sticker.
And I didn't have any of yours with me. I try and keep some of yours with me as a backup because we tend to go almost everywhere together. But I did not grab that bag. So my apologies on that. I failed you on that one. No. And fantastic. And Jeff, thank y'all so much for the super chats and super stickers and things and member comments. I will grab all those here in just a second. I'm going to run through some more of the general chat and grab some highlighted things. K Stu says, I've always wondered what Tennessee is like. Have you always lived there, and do you plan on staying there? Ed, do you want to go first, since normally I fire off first?
Yeah, I lived pretty much my whole life in Illinois and Missouri. And most people say, Illinois. I went to high school and college in Illinois, but it was right on the other side of the Mississippi from St. Louis. So I've always been pretty much a St. Louis or Kansas City guy my whole life, up until about 4 years ago. And I had an accident and I had to retire early. So I moved down south where my family is. And I absolutely love it. Not just because I love my family, but I really like Tennessee. I always thought I would hate not being able to drive in the snow. And now I'm like, why would I ever think that? You know, it's nice not having blizzards and things like that. The bugs are worse, but other than that, the people are great. Everybody is so nice. You know, I miss the regional food that I grew up on, but I mean, they have wonderful food in Tennessee here. So, and I don't plan on ever moving out again.
Absolutely. And I was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, on the coast, on the ocean. So I do miss that. That was very much a part of my daily life as a kid, was being amongst all the aquatic life. That's kind of made me who I am. Was you know, my parents owned a shrimp boat and then a marine construction business. So aquatic life has always been right there at hand, and, you know, running around flipping rocks and looking for critters and fish and things. I do miss that in the sense that we can't do any type of collecting in Tennessee, so that kind of stinks. I really do enjoy it here, and I've got my family here, and, you know, we are moving starting next week onto 26 acres, which is our forever home. So I don't plan on going anywhere else, barring any sort of unforeseen catastrophic reasons. You know, that land will be in the family for forever. So I'm moving and building things there that will last hopefully the rest of my life, and then on to the kids and so on and so forth. So I don't plan on going anywhere else. I do very much love the environment up here, but it is great to, you know, get back to the ocean every once in a while and back to my roots. And then I end up missing being home, so I come on back. Good question. I appreciate it, Case too.
Yep. And everybody in Missouri, I'm not coming back unless it's a visit, because I love it here. I absolutely do.
There you go. Jevin Smith saying thank you for answering. Very informative. Thank you, Jevin. We always appreciate the questions and comments. We used to do a lot more topic based. Like, we would come up and be like, here's 10 plants. And we do that sometimes from time to time. But what we found is, as the stream has progressed and as we've grown the channel over the years, we've found that we often don't have enough time to get to a lot of the Q&A stuff. So we try and do mostly Q&A in here. So every once in a while it'll work out where we have it planned just for Q&A and we don't get it. So we're like, we can talk about this, but it's nice to have the questions. So we appreciate you and everybody else in here. Gabriel's Glass Boxes says, I have a great community 20-gallon long with 1 angel, 2 female bettas, 4 zebra danios, 1 red-eyed tetra, and a black skirt tetra. Going to add more tetras in the future. Your thoughts? I try not to have thoughts. They get me in trouble. Sounds like a
tank?
very pretty tank. It's a 20-gallon long.
Okay.
It's got 1 angel, 2 female bettas, 4 zebra danios, 1 red-eye tetra, and a black skirt tetra. You get that back here because it tried to run away on me. Wouldn't do another angel in there.
You may want to eventually take the angel out because angels like up and down space, and depending on your substrate, you're kind of limiting their space because they like to go up and down a lot.
Absolutely.
Just throwing that out there.
So I would probably grab 2 or 3 more zebra danios. And this is just, again, if it was my tank. Like Ed mentioned, eventually that angel, more than likely, the finnage on that can probably end up moving out.
They might.
I'd grab 2 or 3 more danios. And then I would mix in a couple more of the red eye and black skirts before going on to like a different type of tetra. Because while they oftentimes a lot of the different tetras will slightly shoal together and get along, you'll find that they tend to do better in my experience if you have multiples of the same type. So I would focus more on, getting another red eye or another monk tetra in there, getting another black skirt or a couple more of each of those in there before going to, I want to add a Serpe or I want to add, whichever other type of tetra. Those would be my focal points, just my 2 cents. Anything else you wanted to add to that, buddy?
No, I like that too. Did he have any bottom feeder, any cleanup crew?
I didn't see anything, but I was going to leave you to that because that's usually where you throw in the Corys.
Yeah. Maybe some pygmy Corys, like 6 of the. That's what my mom. I won a Jen Wilson tank 2 trips ago, and it's a 17-gallon tank, and she filled it with the glowfish this weekend, the white skirts basically, but they've got the DNA of jellyfish. And I've noticed those guys, they don't nip at each other's fins, but they're constantly chasing each other. Now, white skirts I've had in the past, they've kind of been mellow fish, but I've never had the actual glowfish. Have you noticed that with your glowfish, or are they just spunky?
I pulled an Ed and I was reading the chat and did not hear a word you said, my friend. I heard glowfish. Right.
Well, my mom bought glowfish, and I plan on buying her 6 to 10 pygmy Corys for that tank also, because I think it'd be super neat.
Right.
But some type of little catfish would be wonderful for him, I think, to be at the bottom. But now with the glowfish, okay, white skirts. Have you ever had just white skirts tetras?
Not that I can recall. Just because I preferred the black skirts. If I was going for that, I always preferred to look at the black skirts. But that, again, personal preference. That's just me.
Well, I had them back in the 90s, and they always kind of schooled. They stayed together as a school. And now these guys, they're all like, I mean, it's actually very entertaining. And they never bite each other. They just kind of dart at each other and they get out of the way. But I was just wondering if they've got more of a little aggression because they've, had a little bit of DNA bump or something, or if that's just how they are, or, every fish is different. There might be 5 different types of white skirts for all I know. And they used a little bit of different one from a different stream or something to create glowfish. I don't know.
That's entirely possible. And there are a lot of variables in that rabbit hole that we could go down. Everything to how they've been kept and what their environment was like previously, to so many different things. So it's really hard to tell 100% on what's causing that. I'm going to grab a couple more of highlighted questions and comments from the chat, and then we're going to jump over to the paid questions and comments and things. But I do want to say, I saw some people mention that mine was freezing up. I apologize if it is. we spend a lot of money, which a huge thank you to you all, because you all are the reason that we upgraded our internet. So again, when I say the things go into funding stuff, it's like paying for the extra internet to be able to stream efficiently. Yeah, for some reason between yesterday and today, it's been horrible. I did try and do a little bit of gaming yesterday with the family, and I couldn't even do it. And that's hardwired, so like it keeps popping up the signal icon on my StreamYard here, and I'm hardwired in. And I typically have, even with everybody else gaming, streaming, all that stuff, I typically have 30 to 50 up free and available for me to use. So there's no reason it should be. So if it is swirling or lagging or quality getting poor, I do apologize. I have to talk with Comcast to find out what the heck is going on, because I need to talk to them anyways about switching service over as we move. So my apologies for that. Robert Johnson was saying James sounded very robotic quite often.
That's just him.
Yeah, that's just me. I am a robot. Buy more fish. Shop at. No, I'm just kidding. It could possibly be the audio editing software that I feed this through the studio. I'm trying something different tonight. I've got a little fan going over here because it gets really hot with 1,000 watts of studio lights up and running. So it may be where the software is processing that fan noise out along with the air pump noises and all that stuff, that it's making me a little more electronic. But I appreciate that feedback. I do, because I'll go back and re-listen to this and find out what I need to fix to make sure that doesn't happen. So thank you for that. I see one that's not highlighted here. Melissa says, how much filtration is needed for a 40-gallon tank with 2 fancy goldfish? In my experience, goldfish tend to make a lot of waste. And oftentimes those tanks are not planted because goldfish don't like to mess with them, or don't like to leave them alone. They like to mess with them. Or B, that's just not the look people are going for. Typically the former versus the latter. So you can't really get a lot of help from the ecosystem in terms of filtering out. If it was myself personally, I would get, somebody's going to hate this, if not duckweed, some form of fast-growing floating plant. Take your pick. There are quite a few of them, to help with some of that nitrate absorption at the end of the cycle. And then I would be running 2 sponge filters in there. I would have one in each corner, so you're getting a decent bit of flow. The sponge filters aren't going to create a huge amount of flow that's going to knock them off balance, but it's going to give, I would probably go the next size up to that. Myself personally, honestly, I would use the big ones, the 40-gallon size recommended ones, because that's what I typically buy. But you could do 2 of the medium size sponge filters in there. And that's how I personally would set it up and run it. You should be good to go. All righty. I'm going to pause that right here, grab some things from the other screen here. Roll back up here, make sure I didn't miss anything. I got a lot of people to say thank you to on this screen as well. Fantastic Freaks, I saw you in here earlier. Austin, you're probably already out. But thank you so much for that $5 super chat. Really appreciate you. And it was fun getting to hang out with you in Chicago. It says, evening, gentlemen. Dropping by quick to say hi while I work. It was great seeing you two again. Perhaps, scroll this over, perhaps we can make an Eastern swap. So, hey. I mean, Ed and I have gone a lot of different places to check out fish. So you never know. Maybe one of these days we can. And thank you once again, Austin. Fantastic Freaks. Stay fantastic, my friend. Get through here. We got Jeff H. How's it going, Jeff? It's great meeting both of you. Ellen and I had a blast. Jeff, it was a pleasure. It's always so much fun to get to meet people, hang out with fellow fish nerds, put names to faces and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being a member, using that membership milestone super chat. Been a member for 8 months now. Again, greatly appreciated. Goes to things like this wonderful internet service. It's god awful expensive. That's not working well tonight. So my apologies there. Hillbilly Aquatic, been a member for 6 months. Just throwing it out there. Yeah. Didn't add any text, just wanted to show the support using that membership milestone super chat. So huge thank you, Hillbilly, for your support. Appreciate you. And my apologies, I got confused trying to read your comment that wasn't there. So,
I was just thinking, this filter, it's the Shark. KG Tropics sells this guy. But
Tropicals, yeah.
this is the short one, but this one would actually fit into the tank. And he could have like 2 going down because it's a 40 breeder, so it's pretty tall. He could have the big one, and that might do a lot for him. And then he could also have it hooked up for the spray bar, so it's not too much pressure coming out, to mess up with their swimming.
That is another fantastic suggestion. That's part of why I keep you around, Ed, because I haven't used those. So I didn't speak to them because I don't have the experience with them. But that is a fantastic suggestion. All right, grab a couple more of these. Jenna P, 2005. Jenna, it was great getting to see you. You all made a beautiful, beautiful scape, regardless of how the judging went. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says, I would like to know one thing that Ed and James disagree about.
Did I say
Ed, you want to take that one?
Yes, but did I say KG Tropicals or KG Tropics?
You said tropics, and I kicked back with tropicals. Keepfishkeeping.com is what he was trying to say.
Yes. Well, we disagree with a lot of stuff.
Do we now? I disagree with that.
Pizza, music.
We don't. You like to make pizza a thing. I had one bad pizza.
Very important to me.
You did. I had one bad pizza that was cold and soggy, and I didn't like it.
It was my favorite
but I don't,
pizza in the world.
Well, maybe your piece wasn't cold and soggy, but mine was wet and floppy. But yeah.
It was that thick. What else? Oh, music.
Well, I would say we disagree on music. We have a lot of overlapping areas, but we have different things that we prefer.
Yeah.
We do.
He likes to keep dogs.
We have a dog. I'm going to hurt you, Ed. He's giving me a hard time because once again, a dog popped up while I was in Chicago. So I came home to a dog that wasn't here when I left. And 2 cats.
Football.
And 2 cats.
James isn't a big football fan.
I'm not a big football fan. If you could call that a disagreement. I don't even necessarily know that that's like we disagree on it. It's just I'm not really into it and you're super into it. But yeah, I think that would be our biggest disagreement. But we have our things. We have our things. That's one of the great things about Ed, though, is that him and I tend to get along very well. It's hard to find somebody that you could spend a lot of time in a hotel room with repeatedly. So it works well in that sense because there's plenty of people that you could maybe tough out a night or 2 with them. But a lot of our stuff kind of clicks to where we don't mind being around each other multiple times a year at multiple events in the same hotel room. So it works out well.
James likes big burritos, and so do I.
Yeah, there you go. There was something, because I read that comment before, there was something I was going to say, and I can't quite remember what it was. There's something out there that we disagree about, but you'd be hard-pressed to really find much.
If you're getting a Subway sandwich, you probably would go with a Philly cheesesteak.
Do like that. And see, Ed knows that because we go to Subway a lot.
And I would probably go with a ham or a turkey. So there
Absolutely.
You go.
There you go. We go together well enough that we can occupy the same cup.
Yep. I don't have a cup.
All righty. Moving along so I can grab some more of these questions and things. But that is a good question, Jenna P. And again, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It's hard pressed to find something that we would actually disagree about and be polar opposites. The Garden of Eater, thank you so much for using that membership milestone super chat. Been a member for 6 months. Horse Shelby Grant. It's always a pleasure to get to hang out with you all. Love you guys. And go check out the Garden of Eater because they're awesome. This is just watch out for them speed traps in Tennessee. Yeah, that gotta keep an eye out for those speed traps. 100%.
James
Whips
is team Grant, and I'm Team Shelby.
We'll go with that.
Even though it's pretty terrible for me to say since Grant wears my hat and Shelby doesn't. So maybe I'm going to trade with him.
Speaking of Chicago and pizza and things of that nature, Whip's World with $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Whip. It was so much fun hanging out with you. Whip bought us some pizza A huge thank you to Whip for that. That was very much appreciated and very much needed in that particular moment.
Oh,
you arrived at a time of need, and I thank you for it, sir.
Big shrimping. Oh man, I tell you, I waited in line for almost a half hour because I had a break between videos, and it's like, oh man, this stinks. My only stop I get, and I have to wait in a half-hour line to get food. And I got a turkey bacon wrap. And when I was walking back, Whip had a piece of pizza there. There was one piece left. And I guess Big Rich was eyeballing it, but I didn't know that. And I had snagged it. And I was a happy camper. And I saved my big burrito thing or wrap for the following day. Because it was so cold in there. It was like a refrigerator. I'm surprised more fish didn't die. Well, I don't think any fish died. I'm shocked because, I mean, it was cold. Okay, I'm sorry.
Chinese food. That's one thing we disagree on. I love Chinese food, and I never get to have it when we go out.
Yeah, I don't care for Chinese food.
There we go. There's your one thing, Jenna. We dug to the bottom of that. Whips World, again, thanks for the $5 super chat. Said, this is the thanks for letting me hang out with you last Saturday night fund with a laughing face. Never required, Whip. I would gladly reverse that and throw $5 out there to hang out with you because you're a really cool guy. But I do appreciate the support, and I appreciate you spending time with us. It's always fun anytime you're around, my friend. I think chat's about to try and jump on me. We're going to go back over to some highlighted stuff here. Michelle saying live bear nerds are my favorite nerds. It wasn't highlighted, it just caught my attention. Yeah, we love live bear nerds. Some more rare live bears, which you'll see in an upcoming video. 3 different types of rare, hard to find things, along with some others. Oinkmaster says, check out the giant Slovenia. I think it's beautiful. Definitely a happy OPPS. The leaves are conjoined together and resembles Slovenia Leaf Island. That definitely sounds cool, Oinky. And I will have to check that out. And hopefully we can find some at some point. We get around a lot, so I'm sure we can pick it up somewhere. Hip Hop Hillbilly says, I stocked my 40-gallon pretty full 24 neon tetra size fish, 4 Hillstream loaches, 2 dwarf gouramis, and 2 ADF. Really falling for the LO43 zebra pleco. Am I pushing it too much? Hip Hop Hillbilly, knowing you, what I do. I mean, it's not like you're down the road and we hang out, so don't let me present that level of familiarity, but just in all the questions you've asked and the talks we've had about your tanks and all that good stuff. I think you would be good because I think that you know specifically the level of biofiltration you need and how the fish in your tank are acting and what spaces are being occupied and what areas are available. So I can go a little bit more in depth with that versus some random person saying, hey, I've never talked to you before. Here's the tank. Here's what I want to shove in it. We've kind of been with you on your journey of setting up, your tanks and stuff like that, and what fish you're picking and what fish you were going to get and didn't get. What I would say is, because I don't know how long it's been since you've added anything, I would give it a couple of weeks if you've added anything recently. A couple of weeks to a month. Make sure everything's settled out. Be checking your water parameters, see how long it's taking for your nitrates to kick up and what you're producing in terms of bioload, and then go from there. If you want to message me with specifics and things, I'd be happy to go back and forth with you on Facebook, and we can look at exactly, how often, my numbers are hitting this and all that type of stuff. But I think you'd probably be okay. And I will leave that in there because we've only got about 10 minutes before we go to the Chattanooga Ed channel. That's pretty stuff. I like that.
I've never seen it before.
There's Whip in the chat saying, hi, I'm a dudes. Hey again, Whip. Always a pleasure, buddy. All right. Let's catch up on stuff. Melissa says, could 2 fancy goldfish live happily in a 40-gallon tank? If so, how much filtration? All right. We did nail that one. Melissa, apologies that it took us a little while to get to it. But like I mentioned, I would do 2 sponge filters in there, 1 in each of the back corners. Ed mentioned the Shark. Is it the Shark Pro? Or it's the Shark internal canister filter.
Yeah, I think I would the 700 or the 500. You don't want to go. I think the 300 is a small one, so I'd go with one of the bigger ones.
Absolutely. So you've got options, whether you're shopping keepfishkeeping.com or Aquarium Co-op. I recommend both of them. Whichever one you're going to, throw that in with your order and you'll be good to go. Roll on through here. Hey there, K-Stu. Thank you again.
You mentioned to
Go ahead,
put
buddy.
duckweed up in there. They'll probably devour it. But I'd be throwing it in there nonstop because that's the goal of or the bonus of having goldfish is feeding them duckweed.
All right. Let me scroll back up here because the chat did jump on me. Jasmine says, hi, how many melanite cories can I put in a 75-gallon tank? Take that one, Corey.
In a 75-gallon tank?
75-gallon tank.
Oh, man. 24.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing at least a dozen. I'm doing minimum a dozen in there. Yeah, you could put quite a few. And I think that you're really going to enjoy the behaviors of a larger group because you don't get to see that a whole lot unless you're looking at them in a pet store, and then oftentimes you're not really getting good behavior out of them because they've been stressed from they're just coming in, or it's not. Local fish stores or just pet stores in general are not optimal living environments for fish. Typically, they're intended to short-term house fish until they get to a better home. That's the way I look at it. So you don't always see a lot of the behavior coloration, things of that nature that you get once you get those fish happily established in a good environment. Ginger says, sorry, go ahead, buddy.
I like that, though, because it has such a big footprint for those fish to swim around in.
Absolutely. Ginger says, I missed the first few minutes, but yes, your internet is being funky. You're getting weird pixelation and distorted audio once every few minutes, but it's not horrible. Again, my apologies. A vast majority of the money that you all support the channel with super chats and memberships goes to the internet and the streaming technology that we use to be able to bring you crisp quality 1080p. So I am sorry that we are having some issues. And I am working to address that and get that fixed so that we don't have this happen anymore. I will say, while we're on the subject, for the members, and this is not a plug for becoming a member, but this is to let the members know you'll probably be seeing quite a few streams this week as Ed and I are shifting over to a different streaming technology. So we want to run that through a couple times, have several hours of testing take place before next Thursday. That way, when next Thursday comes, we've got any issues resolved. And we don't have to worry about that because it's been a while since I've used this other streaming software. And they've recently added where it's 100% super easy to bring a guest on. So we're going to go back over to a different program and we're going to get Ed in the swing of it, even though he doesn't love tech the most. We're going to make it happen. So that members, hopefully, or just get sick. But one of the two. Either way, it'll be interesting. Scruffy City Aquatic says, if you could get anywhere with Comcast Fishery Fever, let me know. I've spoken to them every week, tried an upgrade, and it's still dropping. I will try. I've got, how do I phrase this? There's a tech that I've spoken to that is actually a subscriber, I guess is the best way to put it. So that kind of helps when there's somebody that's familiar-ish with you to go, okay, no nonsense. What's really going on here and how do we fix it? I'm also going to go buy another Ethernet cord just to be sure that this one hasn't finally gone kaput because, hey, you never know. So we're going to do a couple different things to get that better. And again, we're moving. So, a couple weeks from now, depending upon when we actually transition this show to that location, it might be all about fiddling with it again and getting it right. But we try and do that stuff, with the members or completely off screen with a couple select people, like maybe the Gingerator and another moderator or somebody that kind of die hard into, I want to help. What can we do? Let's play with this and make it happen so that we're not on the public streams going, oh, my mic was muted. Is this working? We don't want that type of stuff in public streams. So apologies. All right, roll on. Leslie Perry, she'll need more than crappy internet service to run me off. Well, Leslie, thank you so much. And thank you for being a member. I'm going to flip a button here and see what this does. Let's see if this makes it less electronic. Give me a 1 in the chat if it made it less electronic.
When I went to cancel the cables for like 2 weeks ago. I was going to cancel it because they keep raising the prices. They lowered the price and they upgraded my internet for free. I used to get 300 millibytes or whatever it is, and now it's 500 millibytes per second or whatever the number. It's like they gave me more millibytes or whatever word that is.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, buddy. And that's awesome. You got it cheaper and you got better internet. So kudos on that. Nino Franklin says, how do you feel about people doing no water changes and just doing top offs? Let's see. Maybe a water change 3 times a year or so, though. So how do I feel about it? I feel like there is 100% room in the hobby to set up an aquarium that you can do exactly that. I have tanks that I don't water change. Actually, technically, I don't have any up now, but I've done tanks that I don't water change. I just do top offs. I don't typically recommend that because I follow what I've termed fair use, which is fair, universally safe examples, which means if I can say that to everyone and there's a high statistical probability that they're successful, that's the advice that I like to give unless asked for specifics. So I think you need to know what you're doing and you need to do a lot of research in order to set up a properly balanced and established environment that you don't need to do the water changes in, but it is 100% doable. And I oftentimes think that's kind of the level of fish keeping we should be striving for, even if we don't ever actually do that, even if we are still doing water changes. The flip side of that being, there are some things plants do enjoy water changes, even though they'll pull your nitrates and help you not really have to do it if you balance it with a smaller fish load. But let's be honest, most people that are just getting into the hobby or are new to the hobby, they don't always do research. They like to overstock. They like to overfeed. They're not the best with plants. So all of those things kind of factor into, I don't want to tell kind of that group of people, you don't have to do water changes except 3 times a year. That's horrible advice, majority for most of those people. But yeah, I do love a well-balanced seasoned tank that kind of runs itself. And if it's not a breeding tank, if it's not something that I'm actively trying to produce more fish in, which is going to have a lot more feeding taking place, little to maybe no plants in it, all of the things that are counterintuitive to that scenario, then yeah, I'll try for that balance. But most of my tanks are set up to make a lot of fish and make them quickly, grow them fast, and make the prettiest, healthiest darn fish that I can make. So that's my 2 cents. Over to you, Ed.
I would do a lot of plants if you're only going to do it once in a while, or have a big tank and low stock it. I don't do a lot of water changes on my 75. It has 2 angelfish in it. That's it. And I think I've done 1 water change in the last 6 months. It's filled with plants and 2 fish. And they're like this thin, even though they're like that. But I top that one off all the time. But if you're going to do a heavy load of fish, I'd still do the water changes. And your plants like water changes too. Your plants will pearl on my plants, on my guppy tanks, they pearl every time I do water changes. So, it's not just the fish that enjoy the water changes. Everything enjoys that, the water change. So, if you just hate water changes, don't make you leave the hobby, but just figure out ways to do it less.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to grab, I see one question here I want to hit that's highlighted, and then we'll get the paid stuff, so to speak, a word from our sponsors, from the members and the super chatters. Then we're going to go over to Chattanooga Ed's channel because he's awesome and we're going to have fun there. Big Shrimpin said, have you ever ordered from Aquahuna? $12.99 flat rate shipping.
Wow.
That's amazing. I have not. I've heard quite a few people that have had success with them, and I am looking forward to ordering from them in the springtime next year. I actually have some things on my list that I will be purchasing from them for the new fish room once we get into building that out and setting those tanks up. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing from them, but I have not. So I don't have any personal feedback to give other than I've seen a lot of great reviews and have heard a lot of good things. There's, of course, going to be somebody out there that didn't have time with them. But the majority of what I've heard and seen from other fish keepers and fish tube people has been positive.
Yeah, I don't think Corey would tie his name with somebody that was inferior.
Absolutely. Alrighty, so I want to say real quick thank you. I know there's a couple things before this, but thank you, Liquid Zoo OnlyFans gifted 5 Fish Room Fever memberships. That throws us back over 100, so I really appreciate that. That lets YouTube know that we're doing something right if we've got that quantity of members. So Big Shrimp in Whips World, Echo Delta, New Local Austin, and Chris Swanson all gifted memberships from Liquid Zoo OnlyFans. Again, thanks, Liquid Zoo, and welcome to all you members. I would say, hey, check out the behind-the-scenes stuff that you now have access to now that you have a gifted membership, and see if you think it's worth a couple of bucks a month to help support and keep the access to that. You know, for just a few dollars a month, for pennies a day, you too could support a starving fish fam YouTuber, right? Alrighty. Let's grab these last couple and then head over to Ed's chat. Hip Hop Hillbilly, been a member for 2 months. Thank you so much. Says, thanks. Yeah, I believe the bioload will be okay. Per testing, water changes are only every 3 to 4 weeks. Love you guys. Thanks for all your help again. Yeah, if you're only having to do water changes every 3 to 4 weeks because the bioload requirements are dictating that, 100% feel free to add that fish in there, my friend. And again, thank you so much. Delilah's Critters, thank you for being a member. Using that membership milestone super chat, been a member for 25 months. The time does fly. A huge thank you. And you got the cool little 2-year milestone badge. So kudos on that, Delilah. Said, sorry I missed Aquashella Chicago. I'll be there next year. I am looking forward to seeing a lot of people at all the different events next year throughout all the Aquashella locations. So can't wait for that. I hope to see you there. And then Liquid Zoo OnlyFans re-upping the membership because Liquid Zoo's been a member, and I know that's not the brand new member badge there. So thank you, Liquid Zoo, for that. And of course, those 5 gifted memberships. That being said, we're going to do all the happy dances and thank yous and head shaking and I can't believe it and knock all that stuff out of the park. Ed, any final thoughts, anything you want to add before we wrap it up here?
Nope, it was a good show, and I had a great time. Thank you, James.
Absolutely. Had a blast. Apologies if we did miss your comment. I tried to grab everything that was highlighted. If it wasn't highlighted, oftentimes it does get missed, so my apologies there. But a huge thank you to Ed for being on the show. We're going to go over to his text. As always, thank you to the Warriors members, listeners, contributors, questioners, commentators, and of course, the replay crew. I love you guys. Until next time, keep your fish healthy. Keep yourselves healthy. Don't be afraid to catch yourself a little fish room fever. Take care, everybody.